Hi, everybody, it's Tell the Truth Sports Radio. I'm your host, Ron Fitch. I'm going to tell you the truth about the NFL. I'm going to do an NFL show, and then tomorrow I'll do a little Major League Baseball and college football. First, I want to congratulate the Mets and Braves for getting in. The Mets with the biggest, Lindor with the biggest home run of his Met career, coming back down 6-3, coming back, take the lead. And then the Braves retake the lead, and then Lindor hits a two-run homer to make it 8-7. They win. I knew the Diamondbacks were in trouble. For Diamondbacks to get in, they needed the Braves to win. Then the Braves were going to look to eliminate the Mets in game two. Once the Mets won and celebrated, they were shutting it down after that game. That last game meant nothing to the Mets. So, and it showed. I'm surprised he even got three hits. It was 3-0, a snoozer. I didn't even bother to watch. I knew if I had money, I'd have put $100 on the Braves because I knew the Mets were going to shut it down. The Braves were going to be desperate, and that was going to be it for Arizona. Arizona had themselves to blame. They lost. They had a bad September, and they got what they deserved. Now, back to football. Looks like the two best teams in the AFC are the Chiefs and the Ravens. And Chiefs first. Tough, gritty. I still don't know the stats of Rashid Rice. They're saying it could be an ACL tear, but I'm not getting. They're saying possibly they're doing further tests. Normally it would come right out, but it hasn't yet. Let me see. No, they haven't really. Oh no, I just found out my guy Jonathan Taylor's got hurt and he beat my Steelers, but man, I hope he's okay. I didn't like that they won, but they had to win, and I was a little disappointed in Pittsburgh making a late comeback, but I'll get into that later. They're saying he may have a torn ACL. It's staying May, but anyway, if he is, they'll get it. Mari Cooper, they'll get somebody. The Chiefs always do that, but they grinded it out. They didn't look good. Mahomes is okay. Kelsey's a little better. They took away what the Chargers do. Their defense is a clutch defense, and I'm gonna tell you, the guy, a guy I'll give some MVP votes is Chris Jones because he does everything. He rushes the passer. He's the interior monster. He stops the run. And Tranquil had a good game with 7 tackles. It was this Kansas City defense that was fantastic. Once they threw the ball to Worthy and took the lead, Kansas City was able to hold on in an offensive second half where the Chiefs scored 10 points and the Chargers were shut out the last 3 quarters. It was fantastic. They did a number on their running game. And what Harbaugh wants to do is stay patient with the run and punch you in the face till you give. And they couldn't because Dobbins only had 32 yards on 14 carries. And Gus Edwards had 19 yards on 6 carries. And Herbert was okay. It was 16 of 27 with 179 yards. They shut everything down. And what they did just enough on offense. It's still clunky, but as long as your defense is out there just playing terrific team, they're a great team defense. Spagnuolo, when he dials up, is fantastic. He took away the Atlanta stretch run the old Denver way of doing things where they ran with their running back. I should remember his name. Terrell Davis. They were successful with that. Spagnuolo shut that down. Spagnuolo shut the running game of they slowed down the running game with Dobbins and Edwards. So and Henry, they shut Henry down Baltimore, which he went off. I was very, very impressed with how Kansas City end up. They're 4-1. They're clunky. They have to course correct and kind of if Rashid Rice is out, and that was their go-to guy. Andy Reid's such a genius. It's going to be hard. Andy Reid is such a genius because they lost 5 out of 8 last year, and they had the league in drops, and they still found a way to catch fire in the playoffs and do what they had to do with an offense that was clunky all year, and they still won a chip. They want a 3-peat badly. So they're hungry. Most teams that win two in a row, they have their little lulls. This team is desperate and hungry. I do respect that. I don't know if they're good enough but talk about the other team in the Ravens, and there's still some obstacles in AFC. But right now, their Chiefs are number one for now. I'm very interested in their schedule because Denver is better. So Denver's going to put up a fight. Denver's going to look to pull off the upset. Sean Payton's got those guys playing really good. I'm going to look at this schedule here. At Frisco, they got New Orleans, who's really good. And they lost to Atlanta. It's a very competitive game. They're good at home. At Frisco, they're going to want some revenge. At Las Vegas, Tampa, Denver, at Buffalo, at Carolina, Vegas again. Chargers with a rematch. At Cleveland should be easy. Houston, at Pittsburgh on Christmas, which is stupid. They have a Wednesday, Christmas Day. That's the greedy pig that we call Roger Goodell, our commissioner. And then at Denver. So I'm interested to see how they take on that schedule and can they get all the home games in the playoffs come at Arrowhead. But Baltimore won and they corrected their issues at home by destroying the Buffalo Bills. That was a physical beatdown. And I picked the Ravens, but I thought it'd be a close game. But I had a feeling that they were going to come to play and win. As soon as Derrick Henry busted that 87-yard run, he ran past the secondary. I said, oh no. I saw him run against the Cowboys. I said, oh no. Everybody in the AFC that roots for the AFC team, that should send fear in your hearts. And then Lamar Jackson passed to Derrick Henry. And then Lamar Jackson passed to Justice Hill once for a 19-yard touchdown. Once they get in the red zone, they're extremely difficult to deal with because you could have all the answers solved. Okay, we shut Derrick Henry down. He could play fake and go to Likely and go to Derrick Henry or Justice Hill. They have decent weapons, but they have the running game that's so good with Henry. And now they figured out how to run Henry correct. It fits in. And with Likely and Zay Flowers and Andrews, they do just enough. Because Lamar Jackson, he's a solid thrower, but he's such a spectacular runner. And Derrick Henry is such a spectacular runner. And their young offensive line, they develop to go along with their solid defense. And I'm going to tell you what makes the defense. Everybody talks about Van Noy has been really good. Everybody wants to talk about the linebackers and how good they are, and Requan Smith, how he's a star. The guy who makes it happen, the best, I consider the best guy on the defense, as great as Raekwon Smith is Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in the league. It's him, it's Fitzpatrick, and it's Bates in Atlanta, and there's no one else. They're on the Mount Rushmore of safeties right now. And he makes it happen. And you have to fear him because he can pick you off. He can guard your best player. He stuffs the run. He's good at stripping. He's fantastic. Buffalo, they came down to earth. The only thing I worry about Buffalo in this game, I won't say they got exposed, but, Allen was sharp. But the problem was, in this kind of game where the run game is stuffed and you need a dog at receiver, Shakir's good, but I think if I was Buffalo, I would look into trading for Amari Cooper like Kansas City is. And he's not a disruptor in the locker room, but I need another weapon if I'm going to try to get to the Super Bowl. This is not enough. This was nice the first three games. Now you play against the Baltimore. You're going to play against the Kansas City. You're going to play against tougher teams. and you're going to need that second guy because Shakir is a two, but Amari is a two. And that even though you need a one top receiver, with the way Allen plays and they run the ball and as good as their tight ends are, I think that's good enough to get where you got to get. But this is not good enough to get to a Super Bowl. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just think they need one more receiver to go along with Knox and Kincaid at tight end. They're fine. Running game is fine. You know, Josh Allen is going to do what he got to do. But one thing Allen has to be careful of, do not get hurt. If Trubisky comes in, the season's over. Be selectively running the ball. And I think that's very, very important. Now, the rest of the NFL. I had a feeling the Colts were going to win at home against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, my Steelers, they're Jerry Quarry. They're good. Jerry Quarry's a good fighter because I'm going to watch his documentary this week. Jerry Quarry beat everybody under him. But when it came to Joe Frazier and Ali, he didn't have a chance. But he beat Ernie Shavers, and I believe he was competitive with Ken Norton. He beat Ron Lyle. So in the 70s, he was a good fighter, really hard nosed, but he wasn't big enough to deal with Frazier and Ali's punches. And it was just good enough to kind of be all right. And that's where Pittsburgh is right now. So the Colts took a 17-point lead. You're asking too much. Even though Pittsburgh made a comeback, the offensive line is just not good enough to be in contender status. They'll hold the division lead as long as they can until Baltimore picks up. Now, Baltimore-Cincinnati. Woo! If Cincinnati ever beats Baltimore, they're in it. If Baltimore could kind of, with the way mentally, the way Cincinnati is a kind of a mess, they could be a bigger mess if they lose that big again, Baltimore. Or they could kind of be back in the mix at 2-3, and Baltimore's 2-3, and Cleveland's terrible, and they know that Pittsburgh's probably going to lose some games. The Pittsburgh-Dallas game is a toss-up. Either Dallas is going to come in raggedy, Pittsburgh starts bad. They're both kind of inconsistent. That's a hard game to pick. If the line can't pick up the Cowboys' rush, I'm going to Cowboys. If they pick up the rush and they're able to actually run the football, Pittsburgh will probably win. That's a toss-up. I'm not touching that game. But something's wrong with the Eagles. They got smashed by the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are not that good to be putting up 33 against the Eagles. Buccaneers are a good team. They're not. I don't put them at contender status. I put them at playoff status. And Baker Mayfield is good, but he's not that good to be going 30 or 47 for 347 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's ridiculous. Their secondary is supposed to be so good. And then the passing game, Hurts is supposed to be so good. And he was pedestrian. And he was just missing. He had 1 TD, got sacked 6 times. He didn't have a good feel in the pocket. Barkley had 84 yards, but he can't do it by himself. And then, of course, they didn't have their receivers. Their receivers have to come back healthy. But you know how the Philly fans are. If there's a continuing of struggling with Hurts, on the talk show, wow, man, let's see what Pickett can do. If Pickett, say for something happens, and Pickett comes in and he's balling out, you got a problem. That's the elephant in the room, I think. If Pickett ever gets in, Jalen Hurts better hope Pickett doesn't get it. I'm not saying he's the superstar, but I saw flashes when he was on Pittsburgh. And if he comes in and the offense is smooth, I know they paid Hurts a lot, but be on the lookout for that. And I'll be the first one to call that because no one's talking about that, but be on the lookout for that. Now, of course, the Niners took care of business. I like the way the Falcons came back in the end and scored. The Vikings are on fire. They were destroying the Packers. Packers came storming back. But Sam Darnold is for real because he's older. And this is why the Vikings are a contender. Because Sam Darnold is in his prime. And he's picked up the offense. O'Connell at offense and Flores at defense is the ultimate. You have the ultimate coaches to go after any team in the NFL. They got the defense. He has a defensive scheme. They were turning Love over all over the place until he caught fire. He has a defensive scheme set up. and O'Connell has an offensive team scheme himself. Look how he rejuvenated Cousins, and May Cousins got paid because of him. Look at Sam Darnold. And they're a veteran team, and they got Aaron Jones at running back. That's a good pickup. And you got the best receiver room and maybe in the NFL with Addison and Jefferson and Naylor. They got some dudes, and they love each other. I could tell it's just a good unit. That's my dangerous with the Niners. Kind of hurt. I don't know about the Cowboys. I don't know what to think about them. And the Eagles are a mess. I'm not sure about the Buccaneers. The Lions, I got to see. Maybe they'll get better toward the end. I still believe that the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers are going to have some serious. That Central Division is tough. And then the Bears, they're not going to make the playoffs, but 2-2 is good for a young team. They have hope, and they're a pain in the neck. They're going to be a tough out at home. So I like what I see out of that. But before I go, woo, we got a star is now born, a star is skyrocketing. And that's Jaden Daniels. This guy, 233 yards passing, 26 of 30 with a touchdown, 87% throwing. And Robinson, 101 yards rushing. Nichols, 68 yards rushing. And they're playing good defense, and they are coming faster than I thought. Oh my goodness! Now I got to start to pay attention to this team. You have my attention, Jaden Daniels. You have my attention. You are a dude that is really, really, really good. I'm very, very impressed with this guy. It's 3 touchdowns so far. He has a 107.4 rating. He's averaging almost 225 yards passing. This guy is the deal, and he's only going to get better. I'm very impressed with him.